Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's Rose's Randoms, and today we're going to be talking about The Long Walk. So I just went to see this movie, and by God, I am super impressed. I will have to say I haven't felt this way about a movie in a very long time. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was extremely enjoyable. The concept was so simple, yet it was done so well, right? And I feel like those are like the best stories to tell, the best movies to watch is when something is super simple, but it still makes you question things and it still makes you extremely intrigued. So I saw the trailer for this movie in theaters months ago, and I immediately was hooked. I'm the type of person who really likes these types of concepts, so I was immediately drawn in. And I did not go into the movie with super high hopes because I am not an optimist. I'm always like, I have to be prepared just in case this movie sucks. Because also, like, I was like telling the person I went with, I was like, I really want to see this movie, but in my head I was like, I don't want to be responsible if it sucks. So but that being said, great movie. For me, it was a 10 out of 10. I know this is not necessarily the type of movie that everyone will enjoy, but for me it was a 10 out of 10. I went into this movie not knowing actually the premise. I haven't read the book. For those of you who don't know, The Long Walk is based on the book of the same name written by Stephen King. I think Stephen King has come out with some amazing stories that have been turned into movies. And for me personally, I haven't watched any of his supernatural ones. I don't think. Maybe one, but I'm not too into supernatural. I'm more like into like real life based stuff, that things that are plausible, I guess, if the world was to get super out of control. So, yeah, that's the movie. But I didn't really know actually what the story was. So, pretty much, these boys are living in a dystopian society where there was a war. Things went super awry. And I'm guessing to keep up morale, I don't know if I'm saying that properly, but to keep up morale or hope or something, there are 50 boys who apply every single year from each of the 50 states to do this extremely long walk. And at the end of the walk, one person wins this grand prize. I forget how much money it is, but it's a large sum of money. And in addition to the large sum of money, they also get like to wish for something. And so we are introduced to our main character, who I didn't know was actually the son of the guy who played Plutarch in the Hunger Games. And when I looked it up and I saw that he was the son, I also didn't know that that guy passed away. So that's kind of sad. But yeah, like I was like, oh my God, that's a crazy resemblance. But yeah, so his name is Garrity. So Ray Garrity in the movie. And we have a huge supporting character in Pete. His character is Pete in the movie, and I believe his real name is David Johnson. I think David Johnson, yes. And so, right off the bat, I will have to say that each and every single one of these characters, of these actors that were in this movie, I think did phenomenal. I was thoroughly impressed with the acting in this movie. Yeah, like I really don't have anything negative to say about the acting. I just think that everybody did such a phenomenal job. However, I especially think that David Johnson did an amazing job as Pete. in this movie. Like, from jump, I was just like, man, this guy is a great actor. He was an alien Romulus. I tried to watch that movie. I guess that movie's just not for me, but I do remember actually only liking him as an actor. And then I went on Reddit to like look up. I like typed in his name to look up the character he was in Alien Romulus, which took me to Reddit, and people were praising him in that movie as well. So it looks like we have a great up and coming actor in our midst. I know he's 32, but as in terms of like, coming onto the scene, I think we have a great up and coming actor in this. The character who played Ray Garrity, his name Cooper Hoffman. He's only 22, and I thought he did, I mean, astounding. Everybody, astounding. The Major was played by the dude who was Luke Skywalker. Didn't know that. Of course, I also think he was great as well. Just again, no qualms about the acting in this movie. So like I said, I didn't know what it was pretty much like going into it. So originally I was like, oh, like, do they know that people are going to get like, they're going to get killed, like not one by one, but like, do they know what's going to be happening to them on this walk? Because pretty much the premise is there's one person left. So if you walk under 3 miles, if your pace slows to under 3 miles, I think you go off course, because throughout the movie, there are some people who start, I guess, hallucinating. They kind of run or walk off course. Or I guess if you start running, because you're supposed to walk, I guess. So I think off course, start running, or your pace goes under 3 miles per hour, or you try to escape, of course, you're going to get shot, and pretty brutally shot. And that is the one thing I did not expect. But before I go into that, so I originally was like, do they all know what's going to happen to them? And we find out that, yeah, they do know, because our main character pretty much explains that, oh, yeah, like through, because this has been happening for the 20 or 22 years since the war finished. And pretty much every single year, these boys are applying, and they get chosen from a pool of boys, and they get a letter saying, congratulations, you've made it. However, they have the opportunity to back out a day before. And so he says that, like, sure, we have a choice, but we don't really. And I guess that's because they're all living in poverty, and they're all so desperate to escape that this once in a lifetime chance to them is like, this is their way out. I feel like, I guess when you're in that, and it just shows when you're in such depravity, like the desperation that an opportunity like this can like bring out. They know that they're gonna die, right? To the point, one of the characters, I believe his name was Art, he says, I just want to make some friends, So I don't even think he thought he was going to win. I also think there's like this idea that it's just walking, and how bad could it be? I don't think like that's the main thing, but I do think that a lot of people, I think realistically, a lot of people would be like, I can walk. Walking isn't difficult, So I think that also could be, a part of it. Obviously, like nothing within the movie suggests that, but I do think that is a very human mindset to have. So to the brutality of the movie, I did not expect it. Like the first kill, I didn't expect it like at all, to be honest with you. Yeah, I really didn't expect the brutality of it. Like not just the killing, but them showing like their feet. There's one character who like, his foot was like all twisted and mangled, and almost like he looked like he almost didn't have a foot before they killed him off. Like it was so, oh my gosh, like it was grotesque, but understandably so. Like, not unnecessarily grotesque, because you knew the situation that they were in. I didn't expect it, but I do think it needed to be done to explain the gravity of what these boys were going through. In terms of characters, like I said, I enjoyed all the characters. I thought they all did phenomenal. But in terms of character themselves, I will say I didn't necessarily care for I forget what his name was in the movie, but the boy that turned out to be the major son. I mean, pretty much figured that that was his son from the beginning, because he went up there and he was like, the major said to him, "Good luck, son." And you could think, I guess, like, that's just, oh, like, a dude saying, "Yeah, good luck, son," like you call any like young boy son or something like that. But I feel like in the context of the movie, I got the sense that that was actually his son. I mean, I didn't really necessarily care for his character. He did add. I'm not saying he didn't add, but I think for me, he was the worst character. But that's like, meaning he's on the bottom, and out of like a great cast, and great characters, and it doesn't mean that he was bad. It was just, he's just the worst out of all of them to me. Like, the reveal that he was the major son and why he knew so much about the long walk, I felt like something was missing there, and I felt like I needed a little bit more information. So it kind of made me feel like maybe his character had a bigger role in the actual like book, the actual written story. But we'll see, because I do plan on actually reading the book, and I do know that they did change a bit for the movie, which is not unusual at all, because they do that all the time with book to movies. So there's that. Also, I do feel like the decline of the character, I believe he was Native American. So the decline of that character, I feel like, though I saw it coming, because for obvious reasons, I also still feel like they could have built that up a little bit more, because I don't think he spoke as much as the other characters or the other cast that he was left with. And so I do feel like they should have done a little bit more with his character, to show us like that breakdown that was going to happen. Because I can't say it was out of nowhere, because again, all of these boys are experiencing the same thing. I don't necessarily know why they would have made that decision to not really show his character too much, but I personally wish that they would have expanded on his character, so like I could have, I guess, connected more with his death. Oh, also, so in the story, I had a huge issue with the father of Ray Garrity. I felt like he was selfish. I'm not gonna lie. He, because obviously they're under a strict thing. Certain things are not allowed in this dystopian society, such as reading certain books, listening to music. I don't know if it was all music or certain music, or all books or certain books, but they couldn't, read or listen to certain music or books. And so the major and his men come to pretty much, like, I guess, give him a warning, kind of. And all the major is like, hey, just like pledge your allegiance to the state or whatever, and like, or get shot and killed. And he pretty much chooses to get shot and killed instead of pledging his allegiance. And while I get that that was like him taking a stand for what he believed in, I also felt like it was selfish, because you have a whole son and wife, and it's like, you could just lie and do that. And then I know they would probably be watching you, but I feel like you have a whole child and a whole wife, and I just thought that was a little bit selfish. But yeah, anyway, moving on to the end of the movie. So Garrity does explain eventually to Pete that his goal is to change all of what is happening by wishing for one of the guns. I forget what it's called, but one of the guns that like the soldiers are using to kill the boys. And he wants to take out the major, and hopefully that starts an uprising. Spoiler alert in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We get to the end of the movie, and as predicted, I'm sure by not just me but other movie watchers, it's Pete and Garrity who are the final two, and they're coming into the last home stretch with the crowd. And at first, Pete is backs away and sits down because, he's like, I to Garrity that he wants him to win so he can go back to his mother, because Pete doesn't really have anyone. Pete tells his whole entire story in the movie. Go watch the movie for that. But Garrity is like, no, and he picks him up, and while Pete is like, oh, you tricked me, Garrity backs away, and they shoot Garrity, and Pete wins. At the end, we're kind of wondering, what is Pete going to do now? Of course, I got the sense that he was going to do what Garrity wanted. And so he wishes for the gun. And at first the Major's like, yeah, we could get you that. But he's like, no, I want that gun. And points to the gun that the soldier is holding. And he gets the gun and he holds it up to the Major. And the Major is like, put the gun down, blah, blah, blah. But of course, Pete doesn't listen, and he shoots and kills the Major. Or so we think. I feel like this ending is up in the air. So I was wondering what could have happened, because when he shoots the Major, we don't hear the crowd anymore. There's actually no crowd around him anymore. And it's super silent. And when they show the Major fall to the ground, there's no one else around in this scene. And then Pete just continues to walk away, continues to walk into the distance. So I'm wondering, like, did this actually happen, right? And if it did happen, is it just that, like, he's blocking out everyone else? Like, why didn't these soldiers go after him? Or is it that they didn't want to do this in the first place and they're relieved that the Major is taken out? Is the Major the one that is in charge of all of this, like the head of it? Or did Pete die? Did he shoot the Major and then they killed him? Or did they kill him before he had a chance to shoot the Major? Yeah, I feel like that would be something interesting to explore. I don't know if I would want a second movie for this or not, because I would be afraid that they would ruin it. Also, like, this is just a one-off book from Stephen King, but I do think that exploring it would be interesting if done right. The movie actually kind of reminded me of The Hunger Games. Obviously, this book was before The Hunger Games. But in the sense that they're living in this dystopian society, and pretty much to make up for things or have this false sense of morale, they are holding a type of games or a type of thing for people every year or every quarter. And in reality, it's not really helping anything besides the people who are rich, because the poor people are suffering and continue to suffer, and it doesn't solve anything throughout the years. But yeah, this was the first movie I've watched in a really, really long time that I was like, I want to stay in the theater and watch this again. Like, over the past couple of days, I was like, I want to go back to the theater to watch this movie. So yeah, like, that's the first time I felt like felt about like this about a movie in an extremely long time, which just tells me how good I felt about it. I can't wait for it to come on streaming so I can watch it again. But yeah, those are my thoughts on The Long Walk. I really loved it. Tell me your thoughts down below in the comments. I would love to know what you thought about. Like it, hate it, love it, whatever. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.